Sam Creekmore, and I'm going to tell you a story about Dudy North. And it actually goes back to 1992 or 93, or somewhere in that period. And we were doing some work for John Grisham, who lived in Oxford at the time. We were doing some landscape work for him. His wife called me in and said, it's John's birthday coming up, and I would like for you to build him a baseball field. Great. Be glad to do it. Thank you for the work. Designed it, built it, and John said, I'm going to call this Dudy North. And he said, do me a sign. We'll put it on the backstop. And so that's where the original Dudy North started, was John Grisham's brainchild for his birthday party for his son's Little League team to practice on. So there it was in 1993, the original Dudy North. Well, as most of y'all know, John Grisham, his world exploded and ended up moving to Sharpsville, Virginia, to reside. He kept his home in Oxford, and slowly that just didn't come back to the home as much. Still came back to Mississippi. And one day he called me and said, just take the baseball field down. People have been trying to break in to play on it, so they played on his field. And I said, I'd be glad to do it. And I said, what are you going to do with the sign? He said, you can have it. I said, great. Nobody else wanted it. And so I got the sign. So I get home, Warner's like, what are you going to do with the sign? I said, I don't know, just put it in our shop, put it in Daddy's shop. So that's where it stayed on the ground in the tractor barn, and then end up moving it inside the shop. So fast forward 20 years, whatever, 30 years. And I'd like to think you could tie this back to the Cotton States, because Lewis at that point had known about Cotton States his whole life. So he knew how to make brackets, and he knew how to organize teams, and he knew how to, this is what we got to do before every game. So they were in my parents' shop, and that's where the new Dudy North sign was. And Lewis knew that story with John Grisham, so he called me. He said, Daddy, can I use that Dudy North sign for our wiffle ball field? I said, yeah, just don't let anybody take it off. And he said, what about some old pallets and maybe some old scraps? And I said, Lewis, anything that we're not using, you just get. I said, well, where are you building this? Pop and Dudy's property. I said, well, have you got permission? I said, oh yeah. They said I can do whatever I want. So they had no magnitude as to what this was, nor did I. And so they started building this thing, and he was sending me pictures, and there was the Dudy North sign from John Grisham's field in the middle of my parents' side yard, and all about 20 cars lined up, and all these contraptions, the fence and the banners, and that was 2019, or maybe it's 2018. It was an election year, and so Ashley Kidd was running, and he had been working in the school system too, so he knew all these kids. It was a brilliant move by me. He called and said, I'll sponsor one of y'all's tournaments. Of course, by this time they had the field, they had all these players. They picked teams of 3 or 5, and then cut it off. And so Ashley said, I'll sponsor one of your tournaments. You put my sign up. They developed a website. They had a logo. They ordered a flag, the actual flag, the Dudy North flag. So they were really well organized. And Ashley was one of the first politicians to sponsor a Dudy North wiffle ball tournament. And immediately it just blew up, especially on our local social media. And I happened to be running at the time, and I was like, Lewis, there are other people running for what Ashley's running for, and we need to just worry about me and not. So I don't want to make anybody mad. I said I'll call Ashley. Ashley was so gracious. And don't worry about it. And Lewis did it. I said, let's not get into politics anymore on your Dudy North in for league there. But also, I mean, where this yard is, my parents had gotten so involved with it too. Where the field was, the culvert that they had washed out. So Danny was calling me, look, Lewis has really got quite a lead going. I said, I'm worried about people getting stuck. I said, I'm not worried about the grass. I just want to be safe. I said, do you mind bringing a culvert down, put a new culvert in so they can get across safely? And he said, by the way, you need to be bringing some water coolers and supply them with water. And I said, oh. So I ended up putting a culvert in. And, I got stuck putting the culvert in so everybody else could get across safely. But water coolers, lights, I mean, it just really exploded. And I even had calls for people to rent the field. So, you know, it's like, this is not my priority, you know, but it was all just the creativity of a group of kids who were starved to do something and to be together. And I was proud of them. You know, Eli Whiteside was so gracious. He knew about it through word of mouth or whatever, but you know, Lewis, and he said something to them, or they said something to him at church. He said, "Yeah, I'll come play." So, I mean, you got a two-time World Series champion playing wiffle ball in New Albany with a bunch of Union County kids who just starved for something to do. You know, like I mentioned, you had politicians, you had adults, 50, 60-year-old adults challenging these kids. When I played, I was much better than you. I'll come play y'all. And of course, they'd get beat. But it became a lot of fun. And just for maybe 3 months, it just exploded into a really unique thing for our community. As you know, Lewis is in a sophomore now, and you know his interests had changed. They would play every now and then a wiffle ball game, but I don't think he's going to bring back the Dudy North Wiffle Ball League. But you know, it's it's so funny, and it's fun to think about things in your life where, from John Grisham to New Albany, Mississippi, and to a World Series champion, to a politician, all these things have brought together by kids playing ball. And these 14, 15, well, some couldn't drive. They'd ask their parents to come drop them off. We're going over to Lewis's wiffle ball, to Dudy North. Mama, can you drop me off? And they would do it. It was just like when we were growing up. You could drop me off at so-and-so's house, I'm going to play ball all day. And they did it, and it was fun. And for a brief period, it was just like the old days in ball. Looking back and all the paths that cross and the different personalities and the different walks of life that all came together for 3 months in New Albany, thanks to baseball and sports. And I get my years all run together, but then the next season came around, and by then they had made all their plans, and it just took it to a whole nother level. And that's when he ordered. They always had the logo, but they ordered actually a Dudy flag. Made the field different configuration. Yeah, after they had a season to get through, make changes, reevaluate, then exploded. COVID hits, slows it down. And I mean, the debates we would have in our household about what's safe and what's not safe about getting together. Eventually, we end up losing those, you know, because we were like, you can't do it. We just don't know what COVID's going to do or how. But you know, they persevered. They were all fine. They were fine because they were just like any time. You know, there are some players that are much better, and some not as good. So they would just put all their names in that and then draw a team. So, you know, you couldn't come with a team loaded, and other times they didn't. But they did have tournaments, and it just depended on what, you know, they would decide before how they were going to do it, whether it's going to be by draw or you come to there with a team. And that, I think Eli Whiteside's team was not by draw. I think they picked a pretty good team to play against him. But it was fun. But yeah, they were very creative. It's just that's such a good memory, and just to see their creativity and I don't know that any money was ever changed hands, but I think it probably was.
Did John Grisham ever know about the league?
I wanted him to, and I sent the contact person that I knew at the time some information on it, and I think I sent him the website, but I never heard back. So I don't know if he ever really knew. I would have heard from him if he knew, because he would have,
He definitely, if he knew about it, he definitely
he would have. I mean, we
how
had
could you not?
We had a great relationship, and just when they moved, we maintained their property until they gave it to the university. And we still maintain it today, but yeah, he would have called because he loved it, just absolutely loved it, and would have been proud of the Dudy North. You're right. The year 2 of Dudy North, I said, this has gotten so popular and so big. I said, one, we got to be careful. You can't just let anybody use it without you being there. And then two, I did get concerned somebody might get the sign, because I really didn't want to give the sign away. And I said, why don't you make your own Dudy North sign? Because I think he had put out there as John Grisham's, and they ended up making their own Dudy North sign, and we moved the other one back to the barn. And of course, we got at our office all kind of scraps and stuff, and Daddy around his workshop and barn or whatever has all kind of stuff. And I got concerned. I said, my parents don't really know what's getting ready to happen here, and I kind of got a feeling it's going to explode, just because what they've been doing in the past. And Daddy's, just let them come over and play. And they'd ride down on their golf cart to watch some of it. And but they were very they enjoyed having the activity next door, and it was fun. But it was, and I've got pictures of some of the first year compared to the second year in the field. They really upgraded the second year. The first year they used we had some old silt fence from a job that they used that, and then next year they upgraded to a more of a plastic type caution fence that was orange, and that was pretty neat. But they would play, and I did get a call one time. He said, Daddy, we're still playing. We're running out of daylight. You got some lights we can? I said, yeah, there's some at the office, Lewis, but I don't know where you can get the power. So, I come home, it's dark, and there they are. They could barely see even with the lights, and they had 6-inch cords run all over the place. It was, but they had gotten down to the championship game and run out of light and didn't want to let go. So, just fun. So many people you've interviewed have had that common. I could take about some of my heroes growing up, and the Jay Bailey, he was just a local hero of mine. Went on to play football at Ole Miss, but he would play. He would call. He worked for the park commission in the summer sometime, and if he ever called me out, it really hurt my feelings, because I'm like, you're my hero, But he would also help me, and the legend has it, because the baseball field for the Little League at the time was where the high school parking lot on the south side, and if you could hit a home run over the fence, that's good. But the legend was that Jay Bailey hit it across Highway 15 into the Chevron parking lot, or where the pumps are, the Chevron. So I'm sticking with that. I didn't see him do it, but I always tried to be that guy to do that when I was growing up. Tried to do that for Jay Bailey, to repeat that feat. Never got close, but anyway, yeah, that's something unique will happen again, and it may tie back to Cotton States, may tie back to Dudy North, or some of these heroes that have walked on these fields. We're not just a basketball county. Growing up, that was, but the diversity of what people do and how good they've done it in Union County. That's probably the biggest surprise, because there's just I just didn't know that some of these people have accomplished some of this stuff, which has been so great. But the other was it's just been fun to bring back memories of, because I know some of these people that did it, and that's fun, and it just validates what I've told some of my children when they hear somebody say, this coach meant this to me, or this player was that good, or let me tell you about Johnny Payton or Harvey Childers, or Gooch, Miss Gooch, who played tennis. My goodness, what a great interview that was. And I had no idea that W competed against Florida and Georgia. I mean, that's how good they were. I wasn't going to go to Mississippi State. I had a scholarship to the W. That was where I was supposed to. They were more competitive. That was, and how she's helping the community now in Columbus, Lowndes County. Just incredible. And all that started in New Albany, and it started with people in the community taking interest in a tennis player, or high school tennis players, or younger than that. Yeah, that's good stuff. And I'm glad y'all are doing what you're doing, and I'm glad Cotton States and Dudy North has made the cut.